Hi everyone. Today in this video you can study about the last portion of module 3, that is implementation of RPC. In previous video you had already studied about what is RPC, what are the procedures of RPC. Then in this video you can see what is the main building blocks of RPC, remote procedure call, and how they are implemented. Okay, so the main building blocks for RPC, remote procedure call, is a client process as well as server process. Okay, so for implementing an RPC, remote procedure call, we need a client process as well as a server process. Okay, and in client process as well as in server process, there are number of sub blocks are there. You can see in the figure there is a client program, client stub procedures, and a communication module are present in a client process. Same in the case of a server process, you can see that there is a communication module, dispatcher, and server stub procedures and service procedure is present in server process. Okay, so these are the building main sub blocks, building sub blocks in client and server process. Okay, so communication module is actually that is used for communication between this server and client, and there is a client stub procedures in client process and server stub procedures in server process. And what are the functions of this stub procedures? Actually, they are used for marshalling, unmarshalling, and sending and calling process. Okay, so in client stub procedure, they are used for marshalling, sending, and unmarshalling. Later, you can see what is marshalling and unmarshalling. And in server stub procedure, this stub procedures is mainly used for unmarshalling, calling, and marshalling. And there is a dispatcher module in server process. Actually, they select one of the stub procedure for server stub procedure for the implementation of this RPC. Okay, so these are the main building blocks of RPC, remote procedure call. So what is actually happened in RPC, or how this RPC is implemented by using some software? So actually there is a client that acts as a server. Service includes one client stub procedure for each procedure in the service interface. So actually this client stub procedure will act as a local procedure to the client, and this client stub procedure, they are actually doing marshalling, unmarshalling. In between these two process, there is sending. Okay, so what do you mean by this marshalling and unmarshalling? Marshalling means it's actually a packing of arguments into a procedure. Okay, arrangements of how the arguments are packed in a procedure call. That is actually marshalling. Unmarshalling means what all are the arguments that are attached to a particular procedure call is actually dispatched from that procedure. That is actually unmarshalling procedure. So first, if you want to implement a remote procedure call between a client and server process, client request a service from the server, and after getting this request from the client to the server reply back, or the services are provided. Okay, so when there is a remote procedure call from a client process, one of the client stub procedure is activated, and it marshals the procedure identifier and arguments into a request message. After that, it will be sending to this server process by using a communication module to the server. Okay, after reaching this request messages to the server, it will reply back. Whenever this reply messages arise at the client side, it actually unmarshals the result, or it is unpacking of the arguments. Okay, that is what has happened in the client side. What is happening in the server process or server side? It contains a dispatcher, also server stub procedure, and one service procedure is there. So actually, what is the function of this dispatcher is that it selects one of the server stub procedure, according to the procedure identifier in the request messages, or according to the request messages, the dispatcher selects one of the server step procedure. Okay, so the server step procedure then unmarshals the request message. Actually, this request messages contains number of arguments already that is packed at the client side. So after it reaching at the server side, it unmarshals or it unpacks the request message to find out what is that message, or to find out the contents of that request message. It is actually doing an unpacking or unmarshalling mechanism. Okay, after this unmarshalling of the request messages, calls the corresponding service procedure. Actually, server is for providing service. Okay, stub procedure in the server is not actually used for the service provider, but there is a service procedure is there that is actually giving services to the client. So after unmarshalling the request messages by the server step procedure, it calls the corresponding service procedure in the server and marshals the return value. Okay, then packing of some arguments in a reply messages. Okay, or marshals the some return values for the reply messages. And the service procedures actually implements the procedure in a service interface, and that will be sending back to the means that reply messages sending back to the client side. Okay, so this is actually the implementation side of RPC. So for implementing a remote procedure call, we need a client process and we need a server process, along with a number of sub modules are there. One is a communication module, client stub procedure, and client program is there at the client side. At the server side, you can see a communication module, dispatcher, and a server stub procedure and a service procedure. Actually, what is happened at the client side? A client program which chooses one of the client stub procedure, and the client stub procedure marshals the request messages and then send to the communication module. Give to the communication module, and the communication module is sending that request message to the server. Okay, after reaching this request messages at the communication module of the server, dispatcher selects one of the server step procedure, then unmarshals this request message. After unmarshalling, they can call the service procedure for providing the reply. So then the service procedure actually what is doing is marshalling the reply messages, and by using the communication module of the server, it will send back to the client side. This is actually what is going in a implementation of RPC. Okay, so actually this RPC is implemented like a request reply protocol. For that purpose, there are three communication primitives are used: do operation, get request, and send reply. And what is the use of this do operation? Do operation method is used by the clients to invoke some remote operations, and after sending the request, do operation invokes receives to wait for a reply message. Get request is used by server process to acquire service request, and when the server has invoked the method in a specified object, it then uses send reply to send the reply to the client. So you have already seen that there is a client process and a server process. So in between the server and client process communication, there is a need of three communication primitives. Do operation, it actually initiates some remote operations. This is actually invoked by the clients. Okay, and send request means, get request means it actually done by the server. They're actually requesting the request messages from the client, and send reply is also initiated by the server process. They send reply messages to the client. So the contents of the request reply messages are message type, request ID, remote references, operation ID, and arguments. These are all the main contents that is present in a request reply message. There will be a type of the message has to be specified in the message, and there is a request ID. For each request there is an identifier, and there will be a remote references. Also you have to specify the operation ID and the arguments. Actually, the packing of arguments at the client side and the server side is known as marshalling, and unpacking of these arguments are known as unmarshalling. Okay, so these are all the communication primitives and the contents of the request reply messages in a RPC. Okay, these are all about the implementation of RPC. Thank you.